Are you fed up with losing weight only to gain it back all again? Hi everybody, this is Mike Erlob and another episode of Power Your Life by Flex PT. It's great to see everyone. Today I want to talk about how you keep the weight off once that you have lost it. You see, one of the issues with diets is that when you don't change your lifestyle, after you've lost the weight, you will put the weight back on. You know, if you don't make a commitment to make a complete change in how you live and what you eat, and you continue on those bad habits, your weight will come back on. There's no question about it. And you know, this is a common problem. We see this all of the time, and it's very, very frustrating for the dieter and, you know, for everybody that, you know, you spend all of that time and energy to lose weight in the first place. You know, in order for a diet to become a lifestyle change, it has to be sustainable for the long term. And that is one of my requirements. That's one of the things that I learned in my weight loss journey over time was that if a program, if it's not something that you can fit into your life real easily, it's not something that you can really, that you're really going to be able to change. You're not going to be able to change what you do. And so then, you know, in order for that diet to be sustainable for the long term, it's got to be flexible and customizable to fit into your life. You know, and I get it because, you know, I'm like everybody else. We are all busy today, you know, and if you don't have a way for your food plan to fit into your life, you're just not going to be able to continue to follow through with it. And just like I mentioned before, that's when the bad habits start to return. So the next thing you know, that's when you're back to eating pizza, McDonald's, and Taco Bell, and kind of, you know where that goes. The weight will start to return. And so even if you're working out every day, that weight will return if you don't stay on track with your diet. You know, that is key. I can't stress that enough. I always say you can't exercise your way out of a bad diet. And that's one of the reasons why I really like intermittent fasting is because it fits in well with a busy lifestyle. It's easy to keep up with. Personally, I follow the 16 and 8 program, meaning I only eat during an 8-hour period each day. But when you do eat during that 8-hour period, and what you eat is very important. You know, one of the diets that is out there, which works very well with the intermittent fasting method, is the paleo diet. So what exactly is the paleo diet? Well, it's a healthy whole foods approach that makes the perfect companion diet to intermittent fasting. If your goals are improving your health and losing weight, transitioning to a paleo diet when you eat during your intermittent fast is worth exploring. The idea behind the paleo diet is to eat food that our bodies are genetically engineered to thrive upon, okay? So that obviously cuts out all the processed foods, you know, the junk foods and the likes, and it makes it a very healthy diet. You know, to give you a very basic idea, you know, here's what you typically can and can't eat when you're on the paleo diet. So the foods that you can eat would be things like, you know, fruits and vegetables, meat, seafood, nuts and seeds, healthy fats. Foods to avoid would be sugar, processed food, grains, legumes, which legumes are just basically beans, also starches and dairy. Now, some people, depending on kind of the camp that you attend to, some people on the paleo diet, they will eat dairy if their bodies tolerate it well. You know, but most and many will consume butter even if they avoid all the other dairy, since butter mainly consists purely of fat and it doesn't have the milk proteins in it that often gives us some of those problems. So one of the things, you know, I want to analyze this a little bit more. You know, one of those things that's really nice about the paleo diet is that it's very flexible and customizable. So you can make it as loose or as strict really as you want to. You can tweak it and change this diet to, you know, fit your own needs. You know, the first thing you do is you just want to start by implementing what's easy, focusing on cutting out sugar and processed foods first. Now, something that's really important to realize is that fat isn't all bad for you. While you certainly want to stay away from fried chicken, donuts, and vegetable oil in general, there are healthy fats that are actually good for you. And this would include things like grass-fed butter, avocado, olive oil, and coconut oil. Those fats will keep you healthy and satisfied, and actually eating these fats will also help you lose weight. So let's talk a little bit more about intermittent fasting and how it can fit in well with a paleo diet. So like paleo, intermittent fasting is flexible. It's also pretty easy to do, and it's something that you can give a try really no matter what your dietary restrictions or your budget is. So the idea is that you simply don't eat for long stretches of time. Now, I don't want to let that word long scare you here, okay? That too is very flexible with intermittent fasting. So there's a few different ways that you can approach this, but basically what it boils down to is that you want to not eat for at least a 12-hour long stretch period of time. Ideally though, you want to be able to build that up to more like about 16 hours of not eating. So now that for a lot of people may seem like a really long time to go without food. But here's what you have to keep in mind is out of that 16 hours that you're shooting for, you're actually asleep for 8 of those hours. So now suddenly, that 12 to 16 hours without food really doesn't seem, quite so impossible anymore. So let's say, for example, that you eat a nice, healthy, filling paleo dinner with lots of healthy fats in it around 6 p.m. Now, since you're nice and full, that's going to be really easy to skip your usual late night snacking. And then let's say you go to bed around 10 p.m. and then you wake up, 6 a.m. the next morning. So now instead of eating a breakfast, all you do is grab yourself a big cup of coffee and you go about your morning routine. And that'll get you through to maybe 9 a.m. and then you might start to get a little hungry by now, but you see, it's really nothing that you can't manage. And the good news is you're already about 14 hours into your intermittent fast. 2 more hours to go, and then you grab an early lunch or have a late breakfast. To get your best self by, you might have a glass of water or another cup of coffee, and it's easy to make it for that full 16 hours. If you stick to this routine for a few days, your body will get used to it. And then once that happens, you're going to notice that you're not even hungry until about 11 a.m. rolls around. And since you're eating healthy meals with lots of filling protein and fat, don't be surprised to find yourself having only 2 meals a day instead of the regular 3 meals and 2 snacks. So why is it important, though, not to eat for at least 12 hours at a time? Well, the answer to that is that's because that's about how long it takes for your insulin levels to go down to a point where all sorts of good stuff starts to happen. And that's where you can actually, your body can switch from burning sugar to burning fat. And that's what we're all about, right? That's what we want. We want to get ourselves into that fat burning mode so we avoid, putting more weight back on. We can lose the weight that we want to lose, and then we can have a sustainable weight loss method. Once you get into that mode where you're burning fat, it actually starts to do all sorts of internal repairs on a cellular level. And that is why fasting is actually thought to be a way to help heal your body and actually prolong your life. And now this is where things get really interesting, is when you combine a paleo diet and intermittent fasting. You see, if you do a little research into either, you're going to find that there's a lot of crossover between those two. So the first is that actually the paleo diet is naturally low in carbs and sugars. This, of course, holds particularly true for processed food, sugary treats, and the like. And on the paleo diet, you can indulge in, a little honey or real maple syrup. You can have some fruits. You can eat some carb-rich veggies like sweet potatoes, for example. Overall, the paleo diet is much easier on your blood sugar levels than, say, the typical Western American diet. So why is this important when it comes to intermittent fasting? Well, that's because the blood sugar levels and insulin, they work together. So if your blood sugar levels are high, they're getting up there, your body will produce a lot of insulin. And it takes longer for those levels to go back down once you get back to fasting. So what this means is it takes longer for the beneficial effects of fasting, like burning body fat and the internal repairs, to kick in. But there's other reasons why eating a paleo diet can be very beneficial when you're practicing intermittent fasting, and of course vice versa. When you're eating a paleo diet, you're eating a much healthier diet than the standard American diet. You're having lots of fresh fruits and veggies and quality proteins and healthy fats. And those are the building blocks and nutrients that your body needs to do the internal repairs. Along the same lines, incorporating fasting into your paleo diet will enhance the beneficial effects of eating in a healthier way. But let's get back to those blood sugars for a minute. Spikes in blood sugar and consuming wheat and sugar in particular can actually cause a lot of food cravings. You know how it goes. You have a slice of pizza or a plate of pasta, and 30 minutes later you go back for more. The same goes for cookies, cake, and donuts. The more you eat, the more you start to crave these foods. But eating a paleo diet will help you cure a lot of cravings. And eating foods that are full of protein and healthy fats keeps you full longer. This makes it much easier to stick to a fasting schedule. The end result is a leaner, healthier version of you. So I would recommend give paleo diet and intermittent fasting a try. I just want to let everybody know that we will be live this Thursday at 1 p.m. So until then, stay healthy and keep moving forward.